What's up guys, Mac D today. We're in the Plano Police Department. Welcome back. We're going to be interviewing all kinds of guys here on the channel. Today we're joined by Officer Tilley, who is the Public Information Officer here at the Plano Police Department. So he's been in for 21 years, so thank you for taking the time to be with me today. What is your favorite fast food restaurant?
Chick-fil-A.
Okay. What's your favorite item on the menu?
The basic original chicken sandwich.
Okay, that's a good one. It's been around for a while.
It has.
Alright, what's your favorite holiday?
Christmas.
Okay, just because of being with family and stuff like that?
You know, it's a good time to get to family. It's an opportunity to, you know, for those of us who are religious, it's kind of that moment that it's the opportunity for the family to come together and join in worship and fellowship with each other and be thankful for everything that we've got.
Yeah, for sure, I agree with that. What's your favorite place that you've traveled to in the United States?
New York City.
Okay. I got my New York Police Department shirt on. What's your favorite place? What was favorite about that? Why was it your favorite?
You know, I'd never been to New York City until just recently, and I was really hesitant about going there, but just the different cultures that are all just packed in one city. Yeah. So many different things to do, so much history there. I'm an old movie buff, so I like all the old movies, and to kind of see these iconic places that I've read about and heard about. It's just, and there's just so much to do, and the craziness of it. You know, oddly enough, just the craziness of it is just a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. So let's jump into this. Why did you want to be a first responder? Why did you choose to make that decision?
Well, I've got law enforcement in my family. I've got a cousin who was a Dallas officer. I've got an uncle who was deputy sheriff, and then later on a jailer. My dad was actually one of the first reserve officers here in Plano. Okay. And it was something that was in my blood, I think. Something that always interested me as a kid. You know, you grow up and you always want to be something, and I kind of wanted to be a police officer. But I went into a different field. Really, a lot of it was for family pressure / convenience. My dad had a business in Plano, and it just kind of was one of those things that was kind of expected for me to kind of follow in his footsteps. And the economy changed, and a lot of things changed with little mom and pop businesses, and this was an opportunity to, I had a lot of friends that worked here, and they contacted me and they said, why don't you come apply for us? And I did, and fortunately was able to make it in.
Okay, that's awesome. So let's jump back a little bit about training. So how long was your training and where was it?
My training was in Arlington at the North Central Texas Council of Government. We since now have our own training academy here, but I was going to Arlington. Training, you know, that consisted of basically from the hiring process, you go through the basic police officer academy from the state, then we have our mini academy, and then once you finish the mini academy, then you go into field training. Okay. You're looking at probably a combination of right around 8 or 9 months total to get from hiring to getting out there on the streets by yourself.
Okay, so that's pretty quick compared to, you know, some other places that I've heard about. Do you have a funniest memory from training that you can think of?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot. I mean, it's you do you're learning, you're making mistakes, you're learning from your mistakes. My funniest was probably also one of my most painful, and it had to do with one of the training exercises we go through on gun retention. Okay. And one of my buddies that he and I were in the academy together, still friends to this day, talk, he no longer works here, but we were doing gun retention, and he was the bad guy coming up behind me to take my gun out of my holster. And you know, you're kind of taught to make these moves. Well, I don't think I necessarily made my move 100% right, and I know that he was a little bit too close for where he should be, and as I whipped around on him, we clashed heads, and we pretty much both went to the ground. It was painful, it hurt, but we sat there for a little bit and laid on the ground and looked over at each other and just, you know, we started laughing. Yeah. It was just, it was sad, but at the same time it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's good, that's good. Can you explain a little bit more about gun retention and kind of what that is?
Well, I mean, you're trained in a lot of different things. We go through so much as far as, you know, one of the things you clearly have to do when you're in a struggle, you can't lose your firearm. you lose your firearm and you're pretty much done.
Used against you.
So they teach you, and people will try to steal guns from police officers and get that upper advantage, especially those that want to harm a police officer. So one of the things that's very, very critical is making sure that an officer knows how to be able to retain his or her gun. We've got a lot of females here that are relatively small, and when they go up against an attacker it's twice their size or more, it's not, if you're going to rely strictly on strength and power, most likely the female is going to lose. So it's all about technique, and it's how the things that you do to make sure that you do not lose that gun, regardless of the size of the assailant.
Yeah.
So it's just something, as I say, that they do go over. It's very critical, and make sure that we understand the importance of retaining your gun.
Yeah, for sure. Very, very important stuff. What does a day in the life look like for you?
Wow.
I'm sure there's a little bit of variety there.
It is. It's so different. If somebody asked me one time, they said, so what does your job entail? One of the easiest ways I've explained is we have a lot of employees here. We have our 600 employees here.
Wow.
And what I say is, if it's not in your job description, it's probably in mine. I work directly for the chief of police, so
okay, wow.
There are a lot of things that go on here that you wouldn't necessarily think is part of what I do. I mean, the obvious, I deal with all of our social media. So I'm posting on social media and monitoring our social media. I also deal with the news media on interviews. I get calls on a daily basis from news reporters looking for some kind of a story to do. I have a graphics artist that works in my office, so we work together on making various things, such as the patch that we have up here, and departmental publications. I'm responsible for our annual report that goes out and is available. My coordinator and I, we work on the website, so we keep our website in order. But I mean, it's kind of, the other day we were doing a bunch of remodeling around here in the department, and we were standing in the hallway, and the chief was there with me. And one of the things the chief always talks about is being good stewards with our taxpayers' money. So with this remodeling thing that we're doing right now, there was a little handrail on the side of one of our hallways, and that was not budgeted in on some of our stuff, so it was going to cost us money to get that pulled down. So chief is getting with me about getting a screwdriver, and we were going to take that handrail down instead of paying somebody to do it. So there's just so much that I do, and you never know when my day's going to start. This morning it just so happens it started around 4 o'clock when I got a phone call on an incident that I had to respond to. So I'm on call 24/7, and it's just one of those things that you never know. I never really know what each day is going to hold. I have certain things I'm responsible for doing each day, but for the most part I can be pulled away to go assist on some other project anytime.
Yeah, it's kind of scary and exciting at the same time,
And nothing really scary about it. I mean, probably the worst thing that can happen to me is, falling out of my chair.
Yeah.
That's my biggest risk these days. Yeah, I'm not really placed in danger on a regular basis like some of these officers are out there working the streets, but it's exciting. I mean, as I say, it's a lot of fun, and my only regret is not doing it earlier.
Yeah. That's awesome. Okay, let's jump into our first responder life category. So, have you had to travel at all, being a first responder, like go to a conference anywhere that was a favorite place to travel to?
I do. One of the things that's very important is make sure that our officers are trained. Our chief wants to make sure that we have the best out there, so therefore the way that you do that is training. We do a lot of the training here ourselves at our academy, but there's certain training that we receive in other places. One of the areas that I train to is the International Association Chiefs of Police Conference. That moves around to large cities year after year. I receive a lot of training on media relations and social media and things such as that. Another organization that I belong to that I do training outside is the National Information Officers Association, NIOA. Again, a lot of the same. You just get a lot of it's really important networking. Excuse me, knowing these people. You never know when Apologies. You never know when you're going to have a critical incident. If somebody would have asked me or told me a while back that you're going to have a mass casualty homicide situation occur in your city where 9 people are going to die, I would have probably told you that's not going to happen in our city. It can happen anywhere. So you build these relationships with these other PIOs in large cities, small cities, and you can kind of lean on them for a little bit of assistance if they have dealt with something similar, and kind of get lessons learned. So you know what worked and what didn't work, and use those to your advantage so that you don't, do something where you make a mistake. You do it, the best possible way as you can.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, and those are pretty much the 2 conferences that I really do the most traveling to. I've been on a few training conferences before where I actually did training, but I try not to do that a whole lot unless there's just certain circumstances that surround it.
Yeah. What host city in the U.S. was your favorite?
Wow. I really enjoyed San Diego.
Okay.
San Diego's beautiful. The weather there is beautiful. The water's just too cold for me.
Yeah.
But I really enjoy Orlando. That's one of the places I've been. Philly, there's a lot of history in Philadelphia. It's a beautiful city. I really enjoy that. So I don't know that I really have a favorite one of all the ones that I've been to. I guess if it was, a lot of the time I'm in school and I'm training, stuff like that. But and there's usually stuff going on in the evenings. But if I had to choose, it would probably be San Diego.
Yeah, that's awesome. Super cool. All right, so you listed earlier about all the different things that you get to do in your job description that are included and not included. So
right.
what is your favorite thing that you get to do here?
Probably social media.
Okay.
Specifically nextdoor.com.
Okay.
I enjoy that a lot because I'm working directly with the community that I serve. It's for Plano, as opposed to Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. Anyone around there can see that and work with that. But and we have followers from all over the world. Nextdoor is limited to people that live inside Plano. And that's ultimately where I like to get my message to, because the majority of the stuff that I want to get out, I want to help the citizens who are paying my salary.
Right.
And so that's important. There's a lot of messages we have that we put out that can be a benefit to anyone. But ultimately, my allegiance is to my community, our citizens. And that's where I really enjoy communicating with our community and our citizens through that social media platform.
Can you explain what Nextdoor is for people that don't know?
Well, Nextdoor is nothing more than a private social media neighborhood site. To give an example, a lot of neighborhoods will have groups set up for their HOA.
Like a Facebook page.
Like a Facebook page. This is actually just basically for your particular area. Citizens can communicate with each other that only live in their neighborhood or some of their surrounding neighborhoods, to pass on a lot of really good information as far as safety concerns. If they see like suspicious vehicles, suspicious persons, they can pass along and communicate with people they probably don't even know. And ultimately, the benefit to that is we're getting more eyes and ears out in the neighborhood, which we believe is ultimately going to make a safer neighborhood, which is one of the reasons I think that we've always been consistently one of the safest cities in America, because our community, the partnership that we have, the relationships that we've built with our community.
Yeah, that's good. That's really good. So you're talking about earlier about how you're on call all the time. So how do you balance your work and personal life?
It's not really that difficult. My wife is very understanding. She understands what my job is. She doesn't necessarily like, just like this morning, waking up at 4 o'clock in the morning. It's not always the best way to wake up. But she does understand, and she understands the importance of what I do, and knows that basically I'm in a position that I can be called upon any time to go out. The other side of the story is that she likes the fact that I'm not subjected to the other dangers associated with being out there as a patrol officer.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a trade-off. You know, she kind of has to deal with a little bit of me getting called out in the middle of the night sometimes, but in return, I work Monday through Friday for the most part, 8 to 5. I have weekends off unless I get called, and my danger factors are a lot less.
Yeah, that's good. That's real good that she's understanding and is there to support you, which is awesome. We talked about this a little bit earlier about all the guys that are out there, you know, risking their life on the daily, but do you have a specific act of courage and someone else that you'd be willing to share?
With is it another officer did you're talking about?
Yeah, not even including an officer, just something you saw firsthand, or it could have been a story that you were told by another officer, something like that.
There's so many. There's so many things that our officers do on a daily basis. We've had so many circumstances where officers have done things to help save lives. And, you know, ultimately that's what we're here for. We're here for public safety. We're here to make a difference. We're here to save people's lives. And there's so many different stories that I get to hear in my position of different things, great acts by officers. We've had a friend of mine who is also on my honor guard saved a young boy from a burning house on the second floor. You know, he risked any injury to himself to get up there and make sure that young man was safe. The most recent one, like I had spoken earlier about, you know, the mass casualty homicide that took place, where one of our officers shows up. He's there by himself. He hears gunshots. He knows at that point in time that if he waits, more people are potentially going to die. So he goes into a hot zone where he knows there is a gunman that has already killed people and is continuing to kill people, and places himself at risk of serious injury or death in an effort to save people he's never even met in his life.
Right.
So those acts, and that particular officer, I know him personally, and this is just, you know, it didn't surprise me that it was him, because that is him. I mean, he's the ultimate police officer, in my opinion, as far as being able to do his job selfishly, with selflessness, as far as just going in there and knowing that he could die. And this is a man that has two young children and a wife at home, risking his life for, as I say, someone he doesn't even know.
Yeah, that's super great. All these guys are out here doing amazing work. All right, so let's wrap it up a little bit. So if you could jump back and go back 21 years later and have the same things happen, would you do it again?
Absolutely. Just do it earlier.
Yeah.
That's it. I mean, I wake up every day looking forward to coming to work, and I have for 21 years of my career. It's a lot of fun. It's you know, it's frustrating at times, because especially in the climate we're in today, where there's so many people out there that, you know, dislike the police for whatever reason, but at the same time there are a lot of police that are causing us to get a bad image, things that they're doing, and that's difficult. But, you know, we can't control what other officers are doing, and people have a tendency to paint law enforcement with a broad brush when it's just a few that are abusing their powers or doing something that's wrong. So it's a tough climate that we're in today, but overall, this is, without a doubt, I couldn't imagine doing anything else.
Yeah.
This is a lot of fun and a lot of reward.
That's good. I'm glad you enjoy it. What 3 words would you use to describe being a first responder?
I would have to go with dedication, because there's a lot of dedication that you have to do this job. You're giving up birthdays with family. You're giving up holidays with family. Many times you're working odd hours. So a lot of dedication. Commitment is one that I think is something that you have to be able to do. You have to be sure that this is something that you can do and something you want to do, because if you commit to it fully, you're going to do a great job. You're going to get in there, and you've got to have the right mindset as far as why you want to be in law enforcement. That, I think, is something that is very, very important. And the other part of it is we consider ourselves professional, so I would have to go with professionalism. I think that is very, very important. You know, one of the things that the chief has always made sure is that we try to look very professional when we're out there dealing with the public. We need to act professional. We're in a community. We're in a very professional community, and I think there's an expectation a little bit higher for their law enforcement, where our fire department, our police department are both highly accredited and rated in the state, across the nation, as one of the best. And we have to be able to maintain that professionalism, treat people with respect, treat them right, and it's not always easy to do with some people, but we have to maintain a high level of professionalism.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right, thank you for your time. Thank you for your service. God bless, sir. Thanks, sir.
Thank you very much, sir.